Morning, everyone. It's 10:01. Go ahead and call the December 10th, 2015 meeting of the Employee Retirement System to order. Item number 2 on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the meeting of November 12th, 2015. Second. A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is to receive A, the report of judgments purchased for the month of October 2015 in the amount of $186,820.94, and B, the Plan Design Committee recommendation regarding increasing the retiree lump sum death benefit and lowering the assumed rate of return. This action will just receive the report, and we will have discussion and a vote on item B later on in the agenda under item 9. A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 4 is to ratify approvals. A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is to approve the claims docket. A motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is to approve the following application for service retirement. We have one application. A motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item 7 is to receive the report of death and approve continuation of the pension to the spouse. We have 3 cases this morning. Well, there's 6, but there's 1601 and 1601A, so it's, yeah, there's only 3 deaths.
I'll move it. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, approve the following application for vested rights. We have 2 cases this morning. Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, discuss and or authorize, we'll take these separately. Item A is increase the retiree lump sum death benefit from $5,000 to $10,000. The Plan Design Committee met back on November 3rd. And we discussed this, and we took into consideration some of the Pierce City information that we'd received, and on this item it was the opinion of the Plan Design Committee that at this time that there was not a need to increase the retiree death benefit from its present level of $5,000 to $10,000, and we'll welcome any discussion on that item at this time if there is any.
Was any consideration given to increasing it to a smaller amount like you did the other item?
I don't believe...
to 6,000 or something of that nature?
We did not consider any other items just because the data that we had showed there was no increase was necessary.
Any other discussion on item A? David?
Did you calculate what your cost would be if you did the increase based on what you've seen in deaths?
No, we did not calculate because we were among the Pierce City's average, and it seemed to meet the need of what it was originally designed for, which was to provide assistance in the final cost of a retiree death.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate the memo. My only comment about that is I'm not supportive of increasing it $5,000 either. And that's the motion that's before us now. But at some point in the future, I would ask that the Plan Design Committee meet again and consider some alternative increases, maybe a lesser amount. As it relates to the memorandum and the $10,000 or $15,000 life insurance policy, I don't think that's always intended to be used for funeral expenses. I think some members, including myself, would like to leave that as a legacy for my heirs. And so I would disagree in some aspects regarding the life insurance and its use. But I don't support the $5,000 increase.
In 2001, when the death benefit was established, that was the intent, is to assist in the final cost. That was the retirement system's objective at that point in time.
Right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so on item A, it is the recommendation of the Plan Design Committee that at this time we do not increase the retiree death benefit from $5,000 to $10,000, and with that, I'll consider a motion to accept that recommendation.
It should be a motion to deny the increase.
Okay,
Is what the motion should be.
as Francis stated. A motion and a second on item A. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, can I just make one comment, please? Sure. I will say that the City of Oklahoma City's Personnel Department is exploring offering retirees the ability to purchase a higher level of life insurance. I don't know, what that amount may be, but we are exploring that. Thank you.
Thanks. Item B was a discussion to talk about the possibility of lowering our actuarial assumed rate of return from its current rate of 7.5% to 7.0%, and there was quite a bit of discussion. We took into consideration the memorandum that was provided by Jason, and it was the opinion of the committee that at some point we probably do need to look at eventually getting down to the 7% assumed rate of return, but at this point we'd like to recommend just a incremental decrease from 7.5 to 7.4. If, as it states in the memo, if we were to go all the way to the 7.0, currently that would pretty much require almost a 3% increase on the city's contribution this year. I don't know how the folks that work here know, but we are looking at a pretty tough budget year this year, and this year would not be the ideal year to lower it all the way down to 7%. So based on that, it is the recommendation of the committee that at this point we lower it down from 7.5 to 7.4, and then continue to look at it in the coming years to eventually hopefully get down to the 7.0, again taking into consideration our actual rate of return and our investment experience at that time.
What we will do is we will work with the actuary each year to determine what we can and can't do, meaning what will be the most effective way to lower it without jeopardizing our funded status and without creating an increased burden on the city for the contribution level. So whether we go to 7.4 at this year based upon our current rate of return is iffy, considering we are at pretty well flat for this year, which is really negative to the actuary. So we may not be able to do it this year. So that's why we're using that multi-year approach, depending on how and when we can afford it. We're going to slowly get there with the advice of the actuary over how much we can afford to do and ratchet it down to 7%. That's our ultimate goal.
And I think in our discussions, the idea wasn't that we're in the wrong place at 7.5. I think we're at a reasonable position on our assumption at 7.5, and the committee agreed to that. But it's a preference that we try to move to a more conservative position in time, but not do it in such a way that it puts more pressure on the employer and the contribution rate. So it's
right.
We want to get there, but not that we think we're at an unreasonable level now.
Right. Any other comments or discussion on item B? So Francis, my recommendation would be that we entertain a motion to deny the recommendation to go to 7% or to just...
You're amending it, a motion to amend to approve.
Motion to amend to approve the recommendation to go from
As amended to go to 7.4.
2nd.
That's
For
correct.
1 year.
For 1 year.
Was that a motion? If not, I'll make a motion that we go to 7.4%
Okay.
for 1 year.
Have motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Okay, that moves us on to item number 10. This is a resolution of recognition for James Hamill for his dedicated service to the Oklahoma City Employee Retirement System, and at this time I would ask that Francis read the resolution.
Whereas James Hamill was elected by the retired members as a trustee of the Oklahoma City Employee Retirement System in November 2012. Whereas James Hamill has always had a keen interest in public policy and a strong commitment to the betterment of the Oklahoma City Employee Retirement System. James Hamill has performed his duties as trustee with excellence and in the best interest of Oklahoma City Employee Retirement System members and beneficiaries, and he will be greatly missed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Oklahoma City Employee Retirement System that the fine contribution of James Hamill as trustee be acknowledged, and he is hereby commended for his continued public service. And we do need a motion.
I would just like to say that it has been an honor having you on the board. The historical perspective that you can bring to some of our discussion has been very valuable.
Well, I'll have a few comments later
Okay.
on how the wheel is going around, but you kept it on the vehicle.
Okay. Very good. Anybody else like to offer anything at this time? Okay, I'll consider a motion to adopt the resolution. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Would you like to say anything, Mr. Hamill?
Well, I first employed by the city of Oklahoma City in March of 1960, became paying the amount of the deduction at the time to the retirement system. Retirement system had been voted in 1958, and for 59 and 60 it was a 1.5% contribution. But it has been set up to be phased in to go to higher rates in later years. I started representing the board as a assistant municipal councilor a couple of years later, and the trustees at that time were generally the ones that had started the Municipal Employees Credit Union in 1934. And as often referred to, they were the Depression-scarred generation. And before they made an expenditure, they wouldn't know where the money was or where the money was coming from. In other words, they didn't know the term fully funded at that time, but that's what they had in mind. So it wasn't too long till they told the council they need to increase contributions. And so the council set an election among city employees on increasing contribution to keep the system viable. It passed, but the margin of increase was somewhat less than be desired, shall we say. But the council learned its lesson. There hadn't been any more employee votes on increasing contributions since then, to my knowledge. So things rolled along in pretty good shape, and at that time, under state law, the investments were strictly limited is almost to government securities and certain high-type bonds. Later on, the statutes were changed, but the primary advisor at the time were the city treasurer and the city auditor, and they leaned on their friends at the then two leading banks, the First National and the Liberty. So we've done quite a bit of good. The contributions were on the first $750, and so one of the first things we did later on was have to kick up that limitation on contributions on salary. And when the $750 limitation salary, I think there was only about 2 people making $750 a month at that time. But they kicked that off and later on kicked off the lid. Then in 1976, Aubrey Kerr Jr. went to Washington, D.C., and some of his late uncle's friends were still there, and we were the 3rd city in the nation to approve the 457 deferred compensation program, which was made available not only to the civilian employees, but all employees. And later on, I think it's 86, 87, something like that, I had the pleasure of writing the 401A ordinance, which was for the benefit of Terry Childers, but fortunately I was able to persuade them to increase the membership of those eligible for the 401A plan, and they made some adjustments in the employee retirement system. So things have moved along. The recipients are truly grateful for the work that this board has done. They appreciate the time you put in, realize that times have changed from when we were buying judgments and government treasury bills and so forth, to with the need for the investment counselors and so forth. And they appreciate the annual cost of living when possible. I've heard them, don't expect anything this year, but don't expect a cut either. So as I've seen the thing from about 1960, all I say is keep up the good work. You'd be surprised at the amount of happiness you've brought, knowing that you've got the system funded over 100%, that although it's many years later, you still have the philosophy of that depression-scarred generation that started the thing. If we're going to pay the benefits, where's the money, or where's the money going to come from? All I'd say, keep it up.
Well, again, we truly appreciate your service. So, thank you very much. And that moves us on to item number 11, Investment Consultant Report. Jason?
Thank you. And again, I've enjoyed working with you too, Trustee Hamill, and I really enjoyed hearing that perspective going back a number of years. I'm in town for another meeting today. I know some of you weren't expecting me here today, so I won't take much time. Month of November was okay month relative to what we've seen over the last several. You're actually down about 20 basis points as non-U.S. equities were down a bit. Your 1 year, as Renee mentioned, is probably looking like close to flat at the end of November. Your year-to-date return is about 91 basis points, so just a hair under 1%, and December has kind of been close to flat as well. No manager issues to speak of. We're starting from an economic standpoint. The U.S. does look pretty good where we're sitting today. Still a lot of volatility in currencies outside the U.S., which is impacting non-U.S. returns. You can see your emerging market and non-U.S. managers are continue to be down, but valuations there are looking attractive. From a one-year forward outlook, we have moved from negative to neutral, just as we look at from at new cash flows coming in to plans or to investors. We're a little bit more positive on emerging markets than we were 6 months ago or a year ago, just because valuations have come down so dramatically. All in all, portfolio's positioned well for volatile markets, and any questions on managers, I won't take too much of your time this morning. All right, thank you. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Jason, I just want to thank you for the help you provided to the Plan Design Committee and the probability memo. It's very helpful, and
oh, good.
I appreciate everything
Thank
you
you.
do, but that was very
Thank
nice.
you.
Appreciate it.
I'll second that. Okay, item number 12 is comments from the board, staff, and citizens. I personally want to wish everyone Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I've got one comment to make, well, actually a couple. I had a lot of questions regarding item 9 on the agenda today, and I made multiple phone calls and sent multiple emails to Renee, and I want to express my appreciation to you and how responsive you were in answering my questions. It's much appreciated. Some of those questions were as late as this morning while she was trying to prepare for this meeting, so I appreciate that. I also want to express my appreciation to the Plan Design Committee, because I know you guys take your responsibility very, very seriously as fiduciaries, and I very, very much appreciate you getting together and considering what's best for our members. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
And I would add to that, too, that when we do meet as the Plan Design Committee, I think we would welcome any of the members of the board being there to provide more insight. I mean, you may not be a part of the voting committee, but I think any insight that we get in the discussion and adds to it, I think helps all of us in decision making.
I will say one thing, we can't have too many people show up because we'll have to post it as a meeting,
Right.
so we're at the limit on our board members.
Okay,
So you
forget
can
what I just
send-
said.
You can send me any ideas or anything you want us to. Right, that's what I'm saying. It was a Plan Design Committee, so if we have other people come,
Yeah,
we have posted as a meeting.
Yeah, my bad.
So what we'll do is...
What I appreciate, though, is that, when we're looking at those things, that having different perspectives, just like what you shared this morning, David, I think having different perspectives in that helps us very much in our decision making. And so if we can't, outside of posting it as a meeting, but I think if there was enough interest in having a discussion, we could.
Correct.
But I think it's beneficial to be able to have some of those candid discussions without it being in an open meeting, so we can come back. But I think any input that we can receive from any of the members is helpful when we're making decisions like that.
And I just wanted to remind everybody that our January meeting will be in the city clerk's conference room. The mayor needed the council chambers.
I would explain to some retirees that gratuity is taxable. No state and federal. So that cuts down the net amount of
Can you turn his
gratuity to
microphone?
much less than $5,000. However, the insurance, if they purchase insurance, that is the proceeds are non-taxable. However, that requires an expenditure on their part.
Correct.
Everything's a trade-off.
Any other comments? Given that, we have none. We are adjourned at 10:25. Merry Christmas. Thank you.